for watching. Thanks for listening. This is Honest to God, a production of the Quest Atlantis Catholic Radio. We are rocking and rolling in studio today. I'm super pumped to be here. We have all returning veterans. One guy who's new to this Catholic masculinity series that we're doing. Really excited to have you in here, Jeremy. But then we got our old friends we've known forever. Still wearing the same clothes as the first day I met them. We got Esteban, we got Lorenzo, and we got Abayomi. I did that right?
Yeah.
Hey, I want a little bit of credit, for getting that initially.
Yeah, credit is due.
W's in the chat.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
I want to give you credit for actually trying to say it. So many people are like, "Oh no, I don't want to say your name because I'm scared I'm gonna mess it up." It's like my name is for saying though.
How about just Yo?
Remarkably dehumanizing.
Please say my name.
Do you have any nicknames? Like cool nicknames?
No.
Yo? You answered a Yo?
Abayo?
I mean, yeah, but everybody
Aboyo?
answers to Yo.
Yeah, that is true.
Abayo?
Yours are fairly common. Hey.
When my cross country friends would say Abe because you couldn't say the rest of the word in a single.
You're running out of breath. Yeah. But it doesn't count because he didn't say it during the fun fact section.
I have a fun fact.
Well, we got to pray first.
Oh, okay.
Right.
All right, so we're going to continue with our Catholic masculinity series today. I'm very excited about it. It was a lot of fun last episode. I just appreciate you guys coming in. I think we're going to have a blast and hopefully dig into some stuff. I'm sure we're going to go all over the place and down every little avenue and rabbit hole there is, but it's going to be awesome. But before we do that, we're going to start us in prayer. Anybody want to volunteer to lead us in prayer to get us started? Abayomi, I'm ready when you are, brother.
All righty. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.
Amen.
Most Holy Theotokos, under the name of Our Lady of Guadalupe, please protect us and pray for us. Please lift us up and show us onto your Son, that we might know what real masculinity is. And ask him for us to send forth the Holy Spirit into us, such that we can proclaim not our truth or what we believe, but what really is true, which is that masculinity is imitating Christ. It is becoming more like him. Please, Lord Jesus, make us more like you and allow us to proclaim you well today. In the name of the Father, of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Dude, before we started, Abayomi was like, I don't know if I want to pray. You killed it.
I smell some smoke up in here, bro.
I've been told.
I think that's
good.
sweat.
No, I've been told, and I mentioned this because of Ariel was so down, but that I've been asked specifically not to grade prayers on air anymore because apparently that's weird. So I'm not going to grade your prayer, but if I were, I'd be like a 97, 98.
This feels like a ChatGPT workaround.
That was killer.
Say something it's not supposed to.
No, I would
if I was going to rate
that's
it,
what
when
I
he
would
pulled
say.
out
that's what I would say, but I'm not saying.
No, that might be. That's one of the highest prayer grades. Even when I used to give prayer grades, that was would be one of the highest ones.
When he pulled out
pretty
you
high.
said almost holy like Theotokos, I was like, oh.
Dude, I know.
Mother Natalia says that, and I love it
when
so
you
much.
open with Theotokos through Our Lady of Guadalupe,
The Protestant, you can hear the Protestants shuddering.
Juan Diego
Tomorrow
was.
is it today? I thought it was tomorrow.
I
mean, really.
Jamie, can you
tomorrow?
Okay.
Juan Diego was like 2 days ago.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I'm a big Juan Diego fan. I just did like a little deep dive on him going into this because I
cool.
was talking to little guys about him, and I wanted to make sure I had my story straight. Dude, once again, going back to ChatGPT, going back to Juan Diego, little synthesis here. Next time you're bored, go on ChatGPT and ask it about scientifically tested miracles, and it will list all Catholic miracles, and then say, why are these all Catholic? And I'll say, because those are the only ones that there are.
Yeah.
And it's cool. And it'll be like, oh, here's some attested to ones. Like one time this Muslim lady was sick, and then she got better. I was like, but that's not, that doesn't sound like, okay, that's fair. And then they come back. So, but it's super interesting. And Our Lady of Guadalupe, dig into that. It is so interesting with the tilma and all the studies on the tilma.
Yeah.
I mean, it'll fortify your faith a little bit. All right, we'd love to talk about that, but we got to do fun facts, and we got to start talking about Catholic masculinity. We're going to start over here. Whenever you're ready, and we'll just go all the way down.
I don't know my fun fact.
You can't do this to us again.
You did cross country. You did.
Oh yeah, I did cross country. Fun fact. Okay.
Were you good at it?
Yeah. Were you good at it?
I was pretty good at it. Yeah,
that's probably not a fact.
Like,
okay.
1540 5K, which is pretty decent for high schoolers. So.
Okay. Cool.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. So another fun fact for me is that I'm Colombian, and my favorite Colombian dish are arepas, especially arepas. The Chocolo hashtag. If you know, you know.
All right, I dig it.
Sweet corn. I'm not going to get into that. All right. My fun fact is I found myself, after a series of fortunate events, in a distillery, the private tour, whiskey tour with myself and 5 Indian dads.
As you do.
One of the guys, most sincere, humble, genuine dude. And I say this because I don't think he has no desire to lie, I don't think. He just casually brought up that he had sold half of his whiskey collection. I said, okay, cool, my friend. For how much? $1.2 million.
Oh, okay.
$1.2 million.
That's a nice collection.
And he bought all of it, he said, for an estimated $200,000 to $300,000.
All right, well, that's a good whiskey turnaround.
Yeah.
Let's go.
My whiskey collection currently consists of about a third of a bottle of Woodford that I got as a gift,
Right.
and 1 plastic handle of Benchmark.
Yes.
That but I pour it in my fancy
That's good.
whatever they're called, my
no one
crystal
knows.
stuff.
Are you selling?
The
They're
decanters.
great. My decanters,
That's the key. Get the cost.
Are you selling the third?
And you put the
decanter.
cheap whiskey in the decanter, or here you go. Here's a pro move. All right, I got a bottle of Blanton's one time. Right, fancy schmancy stuff. I've been pouring Benchmark into that Blanton's for like 7 years into empty bottle. I never lie about it. I just go over and pour whiskey, and
you
like,
never
that
asked.
guy's
They're like, wow, I'm a
It's
special
the
guest,
label
aren't
that's
I?
doing the
All right.
lying, not me.
Exactly. Exactly.
You're just recycling.
That's it. Yeah, we won't throw it in
Exactly.
the garbage. It's glass. You have any
Yeah,
idea
good
how long it
steward.
takes to break down? Yeah. What about you, Jeremy?
My fun fact is I became a father for the first time in July
Fantastic. Wait, what date in July?
18th.
Okay. I'm a 7th. My wife is a 13th. So.
Wait, do you become a father for the second time when you have a second child?
I said it, and then I was wondering that exactly. I think you do, but no, I'm not sure.
I mean, you can answer
I
this.
mean,
Yeah, I wouldn't know.
You guys are
just
saying, like-
remain a father.
Yeah, you want your-
yeah. You continue in your fatherhood.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just had. I've got an 8-week-old baby girl at home right now.
That's awesome. Congratulations.
It's
Yeah,
pretty great.
that's
She's awesome. Her birthday falls on a day too. I don't know what it is. She's number 6, early October. So 5th, October 5th. That's her birthday, because my last one was September 5th, and so yeah. All right, so let's dive in, because once again, there's so much to unpack. I don't know how many of these segments we're going to do. I don't know how many of these are. I mean, I feel like we could spend, I don't know, the rest of our lives doing a weekly hour on masculinity and what that looks like through a Catholic lens. But last time we got kind of big picture, and you were mentioning off air, Esteban, like let's kind of systematically go through some of this. And so I think the title of this episode is going to be Tactics for Spiritual Combat. Does that sound good, producer Madeline?
Sounds great.
All right, good job. You're still doing great over there, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah. And so I guess I'll start with a question. We've got a nice little outline here, and I think it goes in pretty good order, right? Why is there spiritual battle to begin with? I get this question all the time I teach a 7th grade theology class for fun, right? Because I was working 5 days a week, but I was only teaching 3 days a week, and I really wanted to teach another couple of days because you get bored just sitting around doing admin stuff. That's lame. Nobody gets an education to send emails to the state of Georgia, right? And so I asked if I could pick up the 7th grade theology class, and it's awesome because they ask all these questions that you're like, oh, that's actually a really good question, but I don't know. I thought I was too smart to ask questions like that. And one that comes up again and again. I'm not talking about the question of evil, right? But I'm saying, like, why is it so spiritually difficult when we know, right? There's no physical altercation between God and the devil. If God could stop thinking about the devil, he'd blink out of existence, right?
Right.
But God allows that through his passive will. He wills it passively through his passive will, interference with the devil, and the necessity for spiritual warfare on our part, on the church's part, on the church militant in general, right, and the church triumphant against the forces of evil. Why?
Yeah, it's a father watching his son ride a bike with no training wheels, knowing that he's going to get scraped.
That's the best metaphor I've heard in my life. That's awesome.
And you know, the kid falls down, gets a little bloody. He's like, why would dad let me fall? But that's going to make him a better bike rider. And so I have these 2 quotes here. Our holy catechism, CCC 2015. The way of perfection passes by way of the cross. There is no holiness without renunciation and spiritual battle. And I'll close out with St. Catherine of Siena, absolute unit of a lady.
Yeah.
She says, without war, there is no peace. And think about anything that's worth doing in life. It's hard. John, you were just talking about hunting. 95% of the time spent hunting is boring, wet, and cold.
Oh yeah.
And dark, a lot of it. And think about starting a company. Think about getting in good shape. Think about any, big endeavor worth pursuing is going to be boring and dark and wet and rainy for the majority of the time. And I think that's a microcosm of the necessity of a spiritual battle. It fortifies us because it's the virtue. That's something I realized in prayer. I try to stop asking for the virtue and instead ask for the opportunity to earn the virtue.
I'm only laughing because I've specifically prayed before for God to stop giving me opportunities to grow in patience and start just giving me patience.
Yeah, right.
I'm like, please stop. I just want the virtue now, please. But no, you're right. It makes sense. I love the training wheels analogy.
Yeah. Awesome. I would also, one of my favorite metaphors with that is like, why would you ask a blacksmith, like, why do you put a steel rod in the fire and use a hammer? It's like, because you want to shape it.
Right.
You want to shape it to something beautiful. Like we were talking last episode about like the beauty is the reflection of God. And it was this one story I heard about the blacksmith where it was like the blacksmith, like I just said, like puts the steel rod through fire, just how God tests us through the fire, and then shapes it through our disciplines. And then at the end of the story, it was like, how do you know when you're finished? And he's like, whenever you can see your own reflection on the steel, kind of thing. Oh. And it really is. Yeah, it really is cool.
Good.
Because that's why he does it. Like Jesus on the cross is the pinpoint of all suffering personified. And it's also equally the pinpoint of everything good.
Right.
And so that's what. Also, talking about St. Catherine, it's one of her most famous stories with her dealing with lust. She didn't overcome it until she understood to take the bitter as sweet, and that's when the demons fled. And so I think that's what God is truly teaching us through a spiritual battle.
No, 100%. I feel like so much of it is, and I feel like I realize this more and more as I sort of mature very slowly, right, in my spirituality. But so much of it is understanding, right, who we are and how weak we are. And it's unique. Right, our masculinity opens the doors to certain weaknesses. I was having a conversation with my son the other day. He was talking about, he's in 8th grade. He's talking about drama. He was telling me the drama that's happening with the girls in 8th grade. And I said, and I stole this from a guy much smarter than me too, right? But I said, all right, son, just trust me, right? The best advice I can give you in this is when there's girl gossip, girl drama, don't be involved. It's unattractive, right? It's not going to help you. But I said, and it's also emasculine. Gossip and drama are uniquely, not exclusively, but uniquely feminine sins. They're sins.
Right.
They're sins, and that is a sin that femininity orients towards, right? In the same way that promiscuity is a sin that our masculinity is oriented or more likely to fall into.
Surely.
And I think we have to understand ourselves and understand our own weaknesses, because what's going to be difficult for me, what's going to be difficult for Jeremy, is probably not, so there'll be some crossover, but not going to be uniquely difficult for producer Madeline, because by virtue of your femininity, right? So I don't know, how do we discern that? How do we figure out, because it's not just men in general, right? There's also individuals. So, right, me as a man, Abiomi as a man, we're going to have similar, right? But also, you're a human, you're an individual, I am too. And so we have sort of collective masculine sins that we're oriented towards, and we also have individuals. How do we discern those? How do we figure out where our weaknesses are so we can defend against those in spiritual warfare?
Yeah, part of it is the lives of the saints, right? And we see, these people who embodied virtue, who we know in our faith in the church, made it to heaven. What were they struggling with? What timeless sins were around then, and crippling sometimes the kind of the heroes of virtue. So we have those commonalities, and I think part of it too, as we were talking about earlier, is clearing the muck. So try to deprive yourself of certain things and see what feels hard. And how about this? Don't even literally deprive yourself. Just think about depriving yourself. Think about deleting social media off your phone. Think about going 2 weeks without sugar. And whichever one kind of pierces you a little bit, that's the one. That's the one. It's God. God, God is he's mystical and mysterious, but he also makes things obvious when they need to be obvious. And so if you just do a little mental audit, you can figure out, where your Achilles heel is.
Jeremy, as a married guy, right, we're the two married guys in the room. What do you think we're uniquely? What do you think our unique weaknesses are in regards to sort of that spiritual battle?
Boy.
Because I do feel like there's a distinction, right?
Yeah, I think so, and I don't think I would have known it prior to being married.
Yeah, same.
Yeah. It's funny. I was watching a little bit of It's a Wonderful Life last night. It's Christmas time, or Advent, I guess. Sorry, not Christmas time yet. Watching a little bit of that, and we got to the scene of George Bailey coming home after his.
Why do we have all these kids?
Yeah,
that scene.
Yeah,
yes,
that scene.
uh-huh.
And it's like I have never. I mean, it's early on still. I've never gotten to that point, but it is more hectic to have a wife and kids in the house with you, like living alone as a bachelor. At the time you're like, oh, there's all these problems, whatever, blah blah blah. But like it's pretty easy. Coming home and like you just want to sit down and relax, but now you got to do this, and this. I mean, I'm grateful for all of it. I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, I think I'm usually a pretty patient guy, but I think being married, having a kid, the sins that I don't know. I think my patience has been tested a little bit more, and I'm currently. I know you're praying for the opposite. I'm currently happy to have them because it's not really a virtue that's been tested much in me. And so it's nice to get to exercise that a bit now. We'll see if that changes, but for now it's nice.
No, I've seen sort of resentment, right? That's something I brought to my spiritual director before, and I don't mean like resentment in that, and I mean this illogically, right? It's in a sinful way, where I just said this to a group of high schoolers before I gave them a really tough talk to demonstrate, like, I suck too, right? Before it's hard talk. I said, you want me to tell you what the number one sin I brought to my last confession was? I was resenting my wife who just gave birth to a human being, my sixth child, because like chores are kind of falling behind at the house. How gross is that, right? And that is something that I never dealt with as a single guy. But I can see the enemy, right? I can see him finding these cracks, right? My own pride, my own selfishness, and weaseling his way in there. And I'm constantly having to sort of reassess, right? Because in a unique way, as married men, we are not our own. You guys aren't your own, you're God's, right? But still, as married men, right?
We can pretend though.
Yeah, it's a lot harder for us to live like we're our own. Yeah,
I think that's really the heart of what I was getting at. It's patience, but it's being selfless. It's a real opportunity to be selfless. And yeah, some days you don't want to, but too bad because you're in it for the long haul.
I was thinking because the question is like, how can you clearly discern what you need to work on, right? That was the question. And you just brought up where one of the most practical things is get some form of a spiritual director.
Yeah.
Cannot recommend highly enough. Has transformed my entire life in the last decade.
Absolutely. And it's like trying to figure it all by yourself is like trying to find out whether you have a good haircut.
Yeah.
Because it reminds me of this one time where before my family and I went to Colombia, Cartagena, for my cousin's wedding, I got a haircut, and everybody was like, "This is the worst haircut you've ever had."
Stop it.
And then I'm like, "What are you talking about? It looks good. I go in the mirror, I look fine."
He actually got stopped at TSA because of it.
No, I didn't. Kind of. But I didn't know until Esteban's girlfriend, soon to be fiance, took a video of the back of my head as I was boarding onto the
Out of
plane.
mercy. Out of mercy.
No, yeah, it's
And
beautiful.
then she didn't even say anything. She was like, check this out. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like,
Yeah.
that looks awful. And it's the same thing when you have a spiritual director. You think you have all these like amazing things. You think you're doing well, and you get a new fresh pair of eyes, and you're like, nah, buddy.
And I'll tell you it's probably a poor substitute, but it's still better than nothing for a spiritual director, right? Because it's hard, right? If you don't run in a circle with a lot of priests, you don't have good relationships with. It's hard to just sort of go like cold call a priest and say, hey, will you sit down and talk to me every month for an hour or so, right? go to the same confessor as often as possible and do it face to face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Good
that
face-to-face.
sucks.
Oh,
It's no
my goodness.
fun, and it's so good. I go every
I
other.
gotta do it now.
Yeah, well, I go once a month to my spiritual director, and then in between, so I try to go every other week to confession. And I do spiritual director face to face. Oh, you bet! I'm behind that screen.
Yeah.
I'm like hoping he doesn't see. I'm like trying to find
Yeah.
a dark corner behind
Yeah,
the screen.
Lowering your voice.
Yeah,
a little
distort
bit
your
so
voice
you-
a little
speaking in a
Trying
weird
to change it
accent.
up.
Forgive me, Father.
Forgive me, Father.
But it's the accountability piece, and that putting a mirror on ourselves from an outside perspective, and saying, "Here's what you need to work on, Lorenzo. Here's
Yeah.
what you need to work on, John."
And I want to bring it back to, which is has been just so helpful for me, is seeing everything as spiritual battle.
Mhm.
Every word you say, everything you eat, every person you love and can't stand, that is spiritual battle. And in this case, you are going into battle. And if you're just starting out, if you're just starting to go to confession, if you're just opening your eyes to the beauty of the church, all of that, what you are is what I am, and especially was when I first started, was a helpless little guy, butt naked, in the middle of a field where crazy battle and warfare was going on.
Yeah,
That's
and you're unequipped, standing out there,
okay?
yeah.
That's what was going on. And so what you do is you equip yourself with some armor, right? You go to confession, you pray the rosary, etc., and then you go to a master. Like we're saying, you go to a master warrior who has fought this for decades, and you say, how do I fight?
Teach me how to fight.
Teach me how to fight.
Yeah.
And
I actually want to sorry to interrupt, but I want to dig into that, or kind of go over like for you guys, like what would you say is your armor? Like what is your armor? How do you prepare yourself for battle?
So, what I have found is I usually divide my habits. I'll answer this. So three religious habits and 3 practical habits. The 3 religious habits are daily mass, rosary, and adoration. Now there's this,
You're doing daily mass right now?
by the grace of God.
Heck yeah.
This guy put me onto it because of brotherly competition.
Oh, that's
Really,
beautiful.
because we started this year, and I was like, all right, this year I'm just gonna do first week of the year daily mass, and on Friday I was like, man, if I could do this for a week, I'd probably do this a couple more weeks. And so Lorenzo gets on it, and then I stopped doing it, but Lorenzo stays on it. I'm like,
Perfect.
okay, no way,
Way to
no
go,
way, little
Lorenzo.
brother. So it's that. Now that's a slippery slope. I'll just put an asterisk. The slippery slope, because you can get kind of mechanical about those 3 things, because you can be passive in mass, in adoration, and rosary. So you got to make sure to be intentional about those 3. So those are the 3. It's a nice little self mortification in the morning. You don't want to get up, but you do it. And you got to be in grace. To take the Eucharist, and it's humiliating to get up there and have your arms
Oh,
crossed.
yeah.
It's such a good, sweet humiliation. And so the other 3 practical are deleting, just extinguishing short form video. For me, short form video is a heroin.
No,
probably.
I'm not going to let you say. I'm not going to let you even qualify that. Not for you, just in general.
Sure,
For human beings who have human brains.
I hear you, but
it's bad for us.
I said
Terrible.
this for the first time to Lorenzo. For me, and I think for a lot of guys, short form video is the second most destructive habit you can have after pornography.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just we all know how it feels to look up after a 45-minute scroll session and just be like, oh, just numbed out. So kill that. Kill processed sugar, unless you're having it with a loved one. Don't do processed sugar in the middle. Just no cheap dopamine, unintentionally, And then lastly is exercise. If I fall on any of those 3, that's when I start to crack. So that's the long answer to your question.
No, I love that. That's a good question. That's a good. It's a good question for us to ask ourselves, right? Like, what is our spiritual armor? How are we equipping ourselves? Once again, I love the metaphor of you're standing naked in the middle of this giant battlefield and seeing the world like that. The older I get, the more I start to realize that this might not be a universal truth, but this is my experience. The little Vietnamese church ladies, the ancient 130-year-old Vietnamese church ladies who were always saying everything was demonic.
Yeah.
Turns out they were right.
Yeah.
No, they're right.
Yeah.
Everything was demonic. And now I'm driving my kids crazy because I'm like, dude, that's demonic. We're not watching that.
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean that's demonic? I'm like, nah, it's demonic. We're not watching
absolutely.
it. Sorry, brother.
I've been my mom recommended me this awesome new Matt Fradd podcast about pornography.
Yeah.
and the guy, I forgot the guy's name, but he's
Aquinas?
yeah. Do you know the guy's name? Do you remember the guy's name?
He started that company, the digital company.
Yeah. I
Is it Stripe-
just
Stripe
I saw
21?
Yes, isn't it Stripe? or Escape?
No.
Something escaped,
He-
but
but
it's one of the new episodes.
Okay.
Go and watch it. But he was like, what if we substituted the word of pornography with cocaine, right?
Mhm.
So you're telling me that you have a little sack of cocaine in your pocket, you keep it on your table, you're using it you're looking at it all the time.
Yeah.
You watch nothing but movies about using cocaine.
Thrown at you.
And then you're told just not to do it. Like have the self-control.
Yeah,
you
people
know?
are constantly offering it to you out in
Yeah.
public. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you're like,
Wow.
it's just a scene and stuff like that. It's just
a
like,
line.
yeah,
Just
exactly.
come
That's
on,
what the
take the
devil
credit card.
loves. The devil
be less
loves to
shameful.
hear that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
Yeah.
Oh, that's wild. Yeah, we got a lot of. I apologize, show notes, Benny, whether you exist or not over there in the ether. There's a whole lot of stuff that I want to make sure we're putting in the show notes for this because I like how practical this episode is already. We're going to dive into a lot more of this here in a second, but we do have to take a real quick break if that's okay with you, producer Madeline.
Mhm.
Is that all right?
Yeah, it's perfectly fine.
All right. And when we get back, I think we're going to dig a little more into how we defend ourselves, but then how we defeat, how we fight back. I want to talk about getting offensive here for a little bit. And I got a lot of resources that I think we're going to throw your way. So we'll be right back in a minute, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. This is Honest to God, a production of The Quest, Atlanta's Catholic Radio. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. This is Honest to God, a production of The Quest, Atlanta's Catholic Radio. We are still rocking and rolling. We got Jeremy, we got Esteban, we got Lorenzo, and we got Abayomi.
Perfect.
That was
There
good.
you
That was
go.
good. In studio today, and we're talking about all things masculinity, particularly our tactics for spiritual combat, right? I'm going to lead with this in case you're just now joining us. We had such a good metaphor last episode from Esteban, who said, from the time we're born, as we come into ourselves, as we reach the age of reason, really, we find ourselves standing naked in the middle of this battlefield, this battle being waged between good and evil, right? Between God and the angels and the demonic and all of this. And a huge part about coming into ourselves, right? As humans in general, but as men in particular, is how do we equip ourselves? How do we armor ourselves, right? What do we use to defend ourselves? And then what do we use to fight back? And I just want to kick it off. We didn't really plan what we're going to talk about here, but there's so much good stuff happening.
Let's do that. It's something that I do want to put in bold here, is that the most devastating type of attack in warfare is a surprise attack.
Mhm.
So with that said, we all need to open our eyes. I said this in the last podcast, and I grabbed a good buddy of mine who had strayed away from the church. I grabbed him by his shoulder and I said, brother, this is more than a fight for your life. This is a fight for your eternal life. Every moment, dude. A time you fall watching porn is not just watching porn. That is a claw mark on your back.
Mhm.
That's getting you one step further away from heaven. And so we all need to wake up and realize that this is happening, whether you know it or not.
Totally.
And the stakes are higher than any other endeavor that you could possibly find yourself in. And you are also up against the most ancient, brilliant, clever, powerful enemies that you can't even imagine, that have such sinister, dark, merciless hearts. They make Jeffrey Dahmer look like a saint. The possibility of ending up with those guys for the rest of eternity is very real.
Well, it happens. I mean, I think universalism's a heresy, right? For the record, right? To
Right.
say that everyone goes to heaven and whatever, like that's not a thing. And we live in a society right now where we're fed this very milquetoast Christianity across the board, right? Both in the church and outside of it, right? Of God is more like a grandfather in heaven than a father in heaven. I want to make sure the kids are having fun. I want to make sure you're happy, right? And all those things. And it sells us this lie that we're created for this world. It sells us this lie that this is what there is, and this is what there's supposed. So I'm gonna have fun, and God loves me, right? So who cares? And once again, a literal lie from the devil that's coming at us from everywhere. I was listening to one of those Daily Wire guys. I want to say Matt Walsh go off the other day about. Do you guys listen to Matt Walsh?
Yeah.
Earlier
Matt
this
Walsh.
week, he had one of talking about all of these new remakes of these classic fairy tales that give they justify why the bad guy's a bad guy. They're not really a bad guy, right? Oh, and he was talking about the orcs and the new Lord of the Ring crap that they're spewing out on Amazon, and how they were humanizing the orcs, and really they just wanted freedom. No, the orcs were made to be like the orcs. They're demons, right? They are evil who want evil, to do evil things, right? And we have to come above that. We have to, once again, love the analogy, take that crap, that muck off of our windshield so we can see clearly the world's around us. And it's hard. It's hard to be submerged in this all the time and still holding out. I think that's why community is important. I think obviously why that's grace is important in the sacraments and all of that stuff.
Absolutely. I know that on this part we wanted to get more practical.
Yes, let's do that.
So I want to recommend 3 sources of artillery. One of them is the living Father Chad Ripperger.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Titan.
The man.
This guy. He's an exorcist for the only order of priests in America, in the United States, that are solely dedicated to being exorcists. So he's their head priest. He has fantastic lectures on YouTube. The other 2 resources, you can find PDFs online or a book on Amazon for less than $5 each. One of them is The Spiritual Combat by Don Lorenzo Scupoli. It was the pocketbook of St. Francis Assisi. He kept it on his person all the time.
There's not a better endorsement than that.
Yeah. Great book. I mean, I keep it in my backpack all the time. Highly recommend it. And the other one is The Imitation of Christ, a brutal, beautiful book. It's
Kempis. Right?
Yeah. So do look into that.
I'm gonna add to that, if we're just going with stuff to own and read. It's Deliverance Prayers for the Laity is a phenomenal book. Once again, I have a great spiritual director recommended that for me. And just to go off and throw things back a little bit, me and Jeremy's court, we talked about this on the last episode, but fathers, if you're a father, you have spiritual authority. You have spiritual authority over your household. You have spiritual authority over your wife. You have spiritual authority over your kids. It doesn't matter if that's politically correct. Who cares? That's true, right? That's what it actually is. Exercise that. Bless them. What does blessing mean? It means to set something aside for God, right? The first thing I did when I held my baby, not because I'm a good man, but because I know good men who have told me I need to do this, right? My baby was born in my bedroom on October 5th.
Nice.
I took that baby, and I immediately said, God hold you and may keep you all the days of your life. And I went through and I do that every single night because I cornered a really great man with really great adult, virtuous children who are in the faith and strong and having families of their own, and said, just give me, what can I do? What can I do? He said, I'll give you the elevator pitch. I'm in a hurry. And he said, bless your kids every day, right? And bless your wife too. Not just your kids, bless your wife and remind them of who they are, what their identity is rooted in, and ask for God's blessing to be upon them. Also, just practically speaking, right, aside, spiritual warfare is the main element, but from a sense of self, from what that gives them, even when they don't believe it, when your little girl is 14, 15, 16 years old and all the temptations of the world are crashing in on her, to have that reminder that every day of her entire life, hopefully, in person, right, but over the phone if she's away or whatever, that you're a princess of heaven and you're good and you are loved and you are virtuous and you are worth so much, right? Like I do the whole you are mine, I'm yours, I love you, and just remind them, affirm them, and make yourself do it, especially when you're in a bad mood, especially when they got in trouble that day, and do it with your wife too, especially when you're bothering her and she's bothering you and you guys had a fight right before bed. Awesome. Who cares?
That's when the battle is.
Yes.
That's
right. And that's when you have to do it.
Yeah.
All right, sorry, that was my rant. I'm done.
I would say one of the best things to attack is to have a group of brothers with you. Go out and immediately find the nearest fraternity that you know of good Catholic men. Kind of, you were just talking about, like, corner them, and be like, please help me.
Make it weird.
Yeah.
It's fine. Who cares? Make it weird.
Yeah, exactly. And, that was really what brought me into the faith. We were just talking about Patrick McCavitt. Shout out to Patrick McCavitt. When I met him, and he was just so welcoming. It was when I went to the KSU Catholic Center, I just kind of spawned in. I went to the Brothers in Christ meetings that we have over there, and he was just so welcoming. I just felt like a real brother, and I got more interested, and he had me and one of my closest friends, Isaac, become leaders for the Brothers in Christ, and that was just the spark that's led to the wildfire that is my faith now. And it's just like I will never forget my brothers like doing Exodus 90 with them, doing the St. Michael's Lent. I mean, the iron sharpens iron thing is so true because, of course, the spiritual, but also practically, you don't want to look like a sissy in front of your brothers,
Right.
or and it's a real. There's a reason why God has made it that way. There's a reason why God has made it that kind of psychology.
Well, a rising tide, right, raises all boats, right? Being around good guys, being around the kind of guys you want to be like is going to go a long way.
Absolutely.
I can't tell you how just spiritually efficacious it's been for me in college to have had good guy friends who were just like, I thought you said you were going to mass. Like, I was at mass. I didn't see you at mass. What the heck? Like,
Right,
just like giving me crap, like in a fun way. But guys who I respected, who I thought, you're a cool guy, right? I want to be like you. Girls like you. I want to play. I don't want to be playing against you in sports. I want you on my team. Let's do it. And like be that guy to other guys. And it's not that awkward. Every guy wants to be asked advice, right? It makes you feel good. It makes you feel important.
Yeah.
Go talk to guys, ask them their opinions on stuff, and just get in there.
Yeah.
Do you guys think that's why society has so, I'm trying to say, not demonize, but belittle and make fun of male friendships?
Masculine friendships. It's always gay.
Yeah, it's
right?
always
I was gonna say they over-sexualize it. It's
Mhm.
crazy.
They make male intimacy always some homosexual whatever.
Yeah.
When that is not true.
Right.
Yeah.
I have friends right now, some of my best friends, who I say I love you too before I go to the phone. I love you, brother.
Right.
Love you too. Praying for you. All right, man. Thanks. Right. And that is good. And you read the way the saints. You read the way random soldiers in the Civil War write letters to one another, and those guys are real, man. They got it in a way that we don't anymore because it's been demonized.
And something that I have recently developed a gratitude for is evil. Evil in today's society. The blatant push to mutilate these little girls' breasts because they're confused about their bodies, or to help women murder their kids, or to send billions of dollars to whatever just meat grinder of a war. It's so blatant and so saturated with evil that it now serves as a litmus test for what not to do.
Yeah.
So if society is telling you, hey, men, get out of the way and encourage your wife to pursue a career in corporate banking, it's probably the opposite thing that you should. Well, okay, so let me qualify that. That was maybe a bad example. But
I'm here for it. I thought it was a great example.
I do think that there is truth in the evil of over prioritizing career for women, and I think that's one of the downfalls of modern dating right now. But that's another rabbit hole. But all I have to say is that I do think that that society is. Please, someone take over here. This is my
All right, I'll throw out one thing real fast. Maybe it's a little rabbit hole-y, but just in case anybody out there needs to hear this, I've said this before, I'll say it 100 more times. It's an ontological fact, right, by your very nature, right, that you are called to be the head of a household if you're a man, right? Be that a parish, right? Be that a nuclear family situation, right? You are called to be the head of the household. If, as I see so often, you're failing in that, right? And I fail in that every day. But I mean, overall, if you're failing in that and your wife is trying to take that role, and God bless her, she wants the kids to have a foundation, all that's great, good for her. That does not, it is impossible for her to become the spiritual head of the household. It just means that the spiritual head of your household sucks. That's all it means, right?
Absolutely.
It means that you suck at your job and your wife is trying desperately to fill this void that you have left. No, I totally agree.
Yeah.
But I feel like women are the whole third wave feminism and all that awfulness, right? I feel like in a big way it's the fruit of us putting up our hands and taking a big step back.
Absolutely.
Right, as men.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
It also like makes us want to do that because like men really like don't want to like have any kind of combat with women. We'd want to give women what they want.
Right.
And so if women are saying we want this and we want that, where our kind of natural instinct is to do what Adam did, which is, I guess I'll eat the apple, right? Which I think for modern man has been one thing after the other, from changing our language to encouraging all of our little girls to go out and have these big careers and all of that stuff, right? And not really celebrating, like what we've always celebrated in the Christian West,
Right.
Right.
which is God over everything else, and your vocation is the way to get that. And so nothing trumps your vocation. And so as a man, if you're a bad head of your household, who cares if you're good at work?
Right.
Yeah.
Nobody.
No, exactly.
That includes God.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm so tempted to do that all the time, right? When I say everything's going crazy at my house, I'm frustrated, and maybe I don't feel as respected as I think I ought to be or whatever. But man, at work, I feel like I'm the man. Let me retreat. And that's the devil. That's the devil coming in there. Instead of me saying, no, I need to get my house in order, because that's what actually matters. The hell with my job, right? Everything can be falling apart for me professionally. It doesn't matter at all if my house is in order. Now, I need to be able to do all that stuff, obviously, professionally, to be the provider that I'm called to be. But no, that's you hit the nail on the head. 100%.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And also the thing is that, like, women are not going to be attracted to a guy who is more submissive than them. Ever.
No.
Ever. I mean, like, it's so funny because no matter how good of a career a woman has, you know, she's never going to be attracted to a guy that doesn't have a better career than her. And it's so funny because girls, like, they won't say this, but they'll react that way.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
It's really important because, like, girls will not be, they'll only be attracted to a guy who's willing to say no to their face.
I like
you know?
what you said, though, about the idea that we're sort of giving over, or maybe this was you, we're sort of giving into this from women because we are naturally oriented, right? Once again, to provide, right?
Right.
To provide for their needs. And if they're saying, here's what we need, and everything in society, every movie we've ever watched and sitcom we ever saw is,
Agrees with
you
that
need me to be
exact thing,
submissive and you to be the girl boss that does everything.
Right.
We're just inverting the whole system.
Absolutely.
And it clearly hasn't worked for the last 60 years.
Absolutely.
I don't understand why we
Yeah.
keep trying to do that.
Yeah, yeah.
I have a suspicion that it was nefarious men that pushed it all to begin with.
Oh,
Yeah, that's a
yeah.
fact.
Oh,
I don't-
more
yeah.
than a suspicion.
I don't
fact.
think that. I mean, if we just look at are people happy today? Like, I don't think it's worked out. So, I don't think it's.
Yeah.
We want to give women what they want, but I think they were told they want this by nefarious men.
Why?
Right.
Like, why do you think the nefarious men were saying that?
Well, I think I know why Hugh was saying that.
Why?
Hugh Hefner.
Oh, yeah,
So
sure.
like he could get women in bed as many as he wanted to, and so he could tear down the cultural norms, and then his friends could do the same
Right.
thing. Because cultural norms were powerful for a reason, and they're primarily like the norms around things like chastity, modesty. You can't have sex until you're married. All of that stuff, shaming men who do that. All of that stuff is there to protect women.
Right.
Yeah.
Like it makes like I somehow they in my like I don't see how it is pro woman at all to encourage a woman, because
Never understood.
what people don't want to talk about is like it's empirically been shown that like if you do the things that modern society recommends that you do as a woman or a man, you are less happy and you live a shorter life. We have all the survey data in the world.
Yep.
So like I don't know why there's not like empiricists singing from the hilltops like, hey, actually you should get married. And like, as a dude, the happiest cohort of men are married men.
Yes.
We've known this
With babies.
for a
Yes.
long time.
By
And
just about
uniquely-
every metric, too.
Yeah.
Every
Right.
metric. Like-
Uniquely with men as well,
Yeah.
men are better off in relationships than women, believe it or not.
yeah, and then you have red pillars that are sitting here. They're going like, like you need to have 4 women. You need to have this car. You need to have like all these other things. And it's like look at the 2 examples: Hugh Hefner at the end of his life and Dan Bilzerian, like I think like a month ago, and they both will tell you explicitly that they were not happy.
Yeah.
That all of this stuff, like the thing that you thought you wanted as a 13-year-old after watching Friends and How I Met Your Mother,
Right.
Yeah.
is wrong. Like
Yeah.
they're on the other side of it. They made millions. They had an unimaginable number of incredibly attractive women,
Right.
and they said they wanted to kill themselves.
Yeah.
Right. So like, and then on the other hand, you have monks who never see a woman in their entire life.
Right, right.
Or like monks that see a woman and decide to give that up
Right.
and worship and pray, and they statistically rank as some of the happiest, most healthy people on the planet who live some of the longest lives.
Well, and bringing
Right.
it back, sort of practically speaking, to the self-mastery component, right?
yeah.
so much of masculinity is tied to self-mastery. I know we got into this a lot on the last episode, right? But so much of it is the little things, right? Sacrificing little things that are good, right? I really like to take a hot shower in the morning. It's nice. I feel clean. I've stopping doing that. I don't do that very often. You know why? Because it's good. It's a good tiny little habit.
Right.
I'm not super cool. I don't do like a cold plunge, but like a cool shower, right? To just take a step back into sensuality.
I'm not looking forward to it.
And what we're told today.
This is my first opportunity to do it. So.
What we're told today in this culture that's been undertaken by relativism is that since there is no objective good, what good is what feels good.
Right.
If it feels good, if it's an expression of your identity, whatever the heck that means, then it is good.
Right.
And I heard someone say that the first cult ever made, the first cult was hedonism. That was the first pseudo religion. And I think that's kind of one of the pseudo religions that's underpinning modern what that's trying to kill Western culture today is this hedonism, and that's what they want. Is the people that you were talking about? It's like, okay, the designers of this kind of anti-traditional culture, because there are designers, right? And once you start to lay the lens of spiritual warfare on everything, you see how all the dots start to connect, and how there really is a order and an agenda to all this chaos and evil that we're seeing. And that's something too with going back to how the evil in society is a litmus test. And you said the word, man. You said the word, which is inversion. That's something that I learned from Father Ripperger, which is the ultimate agenda of Satan, is to invert the truth so that man will fall into despair.
Right.
And so the inversion of truth is now reproductive health care is abortion, right? Now compassion and gender affirming care is mutilating a child, right? And being a good man is stepping out of the way so your wife can go sit in a cubicle. And going back to is like why would this modern feminist movement be designed? Well, it's easier to control men who have distant mothers and weak fathers. And it's also quite convenient to be able to tax 2 workers from a household instead of 1.
Well, you pay them less because there's more people in the workforce.
And then that's for sure. That's for sure. And then the last part too is if there's no, if the father and the mother are working, and now the economy is too tight to be able to sustain a single worker household, so both parents have to go work, then who's going to teach the children?
Oh, don't worry, we'll do that.
The government.
Yeah.
The government.
Just hand your kids over.
Isn't that
convenient?
convenient?
We'll take care of that all that.
Isn't that convenient?
Right. I wanted to take a step back and also look, because if we're going to talk about masculinity, it's also really important to understand how femininity plays a part of it. Because we're talking about attacking, right? And it's our interaction with the feminine that allows us to understand how to orient that plan of attack. And it goes back to everything that we were talking about. And one of the biggest things that's taught me about the harmony between the masculine and feminine is dancing.
Oh, yes.
Dancing,
salsa dance instructor,
dancing,
right?
100%. Yeah,
That's awesome.
You guys are going to learn very quick. I'm quite obsessed with dancing. And it's because it has brought me closer to God in so many ways. And it, theology.
You did a whole
body.
show on dancing a while back. We should have had you on here.
It was, oh my gosh.
We had some professional dancers who came in and gave a really beautiful.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I would have loved to be part of that. But yeah, theology of the body is just exploding in front of you whenever you see a man and a woman dance. And just for the basic foundation of dancing is that there has to be a lead and there has to be a follow. There cannot be 2 leads. There cannot be 2 follows. And that lead has to essentially give up his life, lay down his life by painstakingly learning the moves, getting the confidence to be able to put his own style into it. It takes a long time to develop a lead. A lot more time to develop a lead than it is to develop a follower. Even though a follower has a lot of different elements, which when it comes to feminine and the follower, they have to learn how to trust and how to let go of control in order to be a fluid follower for their lead. And the lead has to earn that trust by, like we said, laying down their life and learning the skills to be able to protect and provide and lead. and things like that. And it's so amazing because after instructing for a little bit, you kind of see guys and girls change a little bit in personality.
Right.
Yeah. Like I've been dancing for about always been dancing like straight out the womb, being in a Colombian family.
Right.
But I actually started to learn about like 2.5 years ago.
Okay.
And I dance with a follower, for example, and it's very hard for her to give up control, for example. Like she's hard, and she wants to do the turn herself, like you would see in a household where a guy isn't a proper lead, so she'll be the breadwinner herself because she's like, if he's not doing it, I'm going to do it myself. And then I'll talk to her after, and then I'll find out she's a single mom, or I'll find out she's the oldest sister and parents were never around.
Yeah.
And it's so beautiful to see how like a beautiful dance comes from a man and a woman playing the roles that God has really set out for them.
I've never heard that.
It is.
That's great.
It's and then once you see that, your eyes just blow up with like the fire of God, because it's just, you see it every single time, and it's just like it's such a beautiful thing. And also with the guy side, I see them lead. I'm teaching them how to lead, and they're a little bit on the weaker side. And I talk them, and then they've been in a really wealthy household. Parents never gave them an opportunity to lead. And they don't have that confidence, but it's like, they go through that discipline. They make the boundaries of like how to have proper technique, the discipline and stuff like that, and they just get a lot more
and we
confident.
innately want that. I honestly believe that, right? It is written on our hearts.
Absolutely.
Right?
Amen.
The roles that we have by our nature, both feminine and masculine.
Yeah.
And it's taken a lot of work to undo that, but you can never fully undo it. It's always deep down in there with everyone. I've mentioned this before, but I've ruffled feathers saying this before, but I really do believe this. Every one of us, deep down, is that same kid we were when we were 5 years old, right? And for the boys, it was playing soldier and killing the dragons, or going out in the woods and doing the whatever, fighting cowboys and Indians, cops and robbers, whatever.
Right.
And for the girls, it's wearing the princess dress and desiring to be beautiful and lovable and taking care of the baby doll. Well, the guy, he desires respect and he desires to do something great, right? And we have to, that's more real than any of the crap that we're being sold right now.
There's wisdom in the purity of that.
Yes.
Oh man, I'm so happy you said that about dancing. This is connecting so many things together now.
Yeah.
I just went to Victor and Caroline's wedding. This is my first
really?
Catholic
That's
wedding
awesome.
ever.
No
I've
way.
never seen anything, and I was like one of the groomsmen in the thing, and oh man, I like saw them do the first dance, and they actually were like really dancing.
Yeah.
It wasn't like they were really dancing and like doing the thing and waltz, and it was like I was enthralled, enraptured. I could not look away, and you were like able to put words to
I love that. And I love the Theology of the Body shout out too. I teach Theology of the Body right now.
100%.
Big shout out to Christopher West and the John Paul II Foundation. Everything they're doing is amazing. Guys, I think we're going to continue this at a future date. I wish we could keep doing this right now. Once again, thank y'all so much for being here. It is always a blast. I hope we get to do this a whole lot more. And that's all the time we have today. So thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. This is Honest to God, a production of the Quest, Atlanta's Catholic Radio. Signing off.